new evidence about the train deaths. Louis Unglesby, former attorney for Barry Seal, makes a startling revelation about his former client. When Barry died, he was being pursued by the IRS for unpaid taxes estimated at over $80 million.
I was going to court and arguing all the time for different issues involving Barry because I felt like they really were guilty of a lot of misconduct in the manner in which they were investigating him, not knowing about his involvement in the government. In the course of that, it was a lot of work for me, it was a lot of work for the prosecutors here, and one of them said to me, why don't you just tell Barry to call in the cavalry and we won't have to worry about this anymore. I didn't know what he was talking about, so I asked Barry. And as a result, in asking him, he said, okay, I won't tell you much, but let me show you, just call this phone number. So he gives me this phone number, I call the phone number. That's when we talked to Vice President Bush's office. So then they put this admiral on the phone, or they put somebody who said he was an admiral on the phone. And then I told him who I really was, and he was nonplussed by that and hung up. And then I said, now Barry, really, I'm confused. So Barry called back, and they just exchanged a little greeting, and Barry apologized to him for having me call.
Well, the only thing I can conclude is because they were talking to each other very seriously over probably what was a secured phone number, a secured phone. And Barry Seals was in direct contact with Bush. That's why I say he had Bush pretty well conned.
In its desperation to finance a clandestine underground war, the Reagan administration was already dealing with terrorists in Iran. Why not drug lords in Colombia? Barry Seal was clearly connected to men occupying the highest offices in the land. With prosecutor Dan Harmon, allegedly Seal's local operative, indicted, the guilty finger was taking a turn toward government.
It's time for the American people to wake up and realize that unless they make government behave and do right, they're going to lose their freedoms, and on the premise that government can solve the crime problem if they give up their freedom. And the American people's got to realize that they're going to wind up with both. They're going to wind up with the loss of their freedoms, and they're still going to have the crime problem. The only difference is going to be that a very big criminal is going to join the ranks of criminal, and that's called government.